This is Dan Fung Dennis, the director of Hell and Back Again. I've received a lot of questions about the camera equipment that I use to shoot my film, so I'll keep this technical to try to answer them all. I worked as a stills photographer for a number of years in Iraq and Afghanistan, mostly for the New York Times and Newsweek. But I felt after nearly 10 years of war, my images weren't really having any impact, that society was numb. And so I wanted to move into a new medium to try to shake them from their indifference. I used a Canon 5D Mark II to shoot the entire film. The Canon 5D Mark II allowed me to use the same aesthetics and methods from photojournalism and combine them with the narrative of film to really create a powerful emotional experience. The image quality is exceptional, but there are a number of problems that had to be addressed before I could use this properly in a war zone. The first problem was with audio. The camera was designed to shoot web clips and had a tiny little inbuilt mic that was almost useless. So I used a Sennheiser ME66 shotgun mic and a Sennheiser G2 wireless mic and ran those professional XLR outputs into a juice-linked CX231 that converted those inputs into a mini jack and recorded directly onto the 5D. A lot of other systems use a separate recorder to get better quality audio, but for me the priority was to be able to record audio as soon as I started recording video, so I decided to record into the camera and also try to streamline my post-production later. The second problem was with focus. Once recording started, everything had to be focused manually. So the only way I could address this was simply by practicing. I knew how far I had to turn the lens to get a shot right on. And so much of my time was thinking about focus. And if anyone moved at all, I would have to change the focus. And when I was running, I didn't have a second hand to focus. So I simply kept the same distance from my subject to keep them in focus. In Afghanistan, I primarily used just one lens. It was a Canon 24-70 f2.8. This gave me the versatility to shoot in combat situations without having to fumble and change lenses. It also allowed me to shoot at f2.8, which gave me this filmic look. But to reduce the amount of light hitting the sensor, I had to use a Stingray variable ND filter and also a fader ND filter. I shot all the US scenes with a Canon 35mm f1.4 and a 50mm 1.2. This allowed me to shoot in the very low light and get that shallow depth of field to really convey this sense of disorientation. The 5D is incredible in low light. It has this amazing sensor, and I could really push the limits of shooting at night. The third problem was stabilization. The design of the 5D Mark II makes handheld shooting very difficult. So I built two custom rigs at a machine shop outside of London. My Afghan rig was rugged and allowed me to be running and the Marines to be running and still get these steady, smooth tracking shots. The primary component was a GlideCam 2000 HD. I built custom mounts to put the audio equipment onto it. And with the weights at the bottom equaling the camera and the audio equipment on the top, the center of gravity is right where a pivot point is attached to a handle. And so I could move this whole system and still get a steady tracking shot. It takes quite a lot of time to actually balance the rig, and it took even longer, several months, to actually get my arm strong enough to hold the rig for extended shots. When I wasn't filming, I would attach it to my body armor to rest my arm.
You got my lead trace? Let's go!
One of the most frustrating problems was that the camera would overheat after a few minutes of continuous shooting in the 130-degree Afghan heat. I would see a blinking red light, and then soon after that, the camera would shut itself off. And since I didn't have a backup camera, I had no option except to just let it cool.
He's the one jumping
Okay, I tell you what, if I had the option of not taking a shower, getting an ice cold fucking beer, or doing this, I do this. This feels awesome.
Designed the US rig to be low profile and unobtrusive so I could shoot in intimate situations. And the primary component was a Zacuto Striker with a DSLR viewfinder. Since I was shooting at extremely shallow depths of field, Bruce Dorn at IDC built a custom follow focus using a skateboard wheel. So once I had addressed the audio issues, practiced focusing, and built rigs to stabilize the image, I really had a very powerful device. It was something I could shoot all the video and shoot all the audio and have everything fit in one backpack. I converted all the RAW files that came out of the camera into Apple ProRes 422HQ and used Final Cut Pro to edit everything. The Canon 5D is an incredible camera system, and it's really democratizing the tools to shoot high quality video. It does have a number of problems, but if you do address them, it's an amazing camera system.